More power to change Italy. That's what the Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi wants, and that's what Italians are voting for on this Sunday. Renzi wants to introduce reforms designed to reduce the size and powers of the Senate and aims to wrestle back power from Italy's 20 regional governments. Present polls show the no's will win, but as we've seen this year, the polls aren't always correct. While either a yes or a no vote could cause uncertainty and indeed then volatility in the markets. Well, Ursula Marchioni is Chief Strategist at EMEA iShares BlackRock and joins us now. Thanks very much for coming in. As I said there, a yes or a no vote is going to cause rumblings in the market, isn't it?
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch. So if we take a step back, a potential yes vote outcome will lead to the biggest change to the Italian constitution since the end of the monarchy. So it's a pretty significant change. What Italians will vote on Sunday the 4th is actually a big package of amendments to our constitution. For example, around the appointment and partition of powers of the parliament, partition of powers among the state, the regions, to your point, and other entities. So there's a significant package of changes that could come through. The bill was originally introduced in parliament by Prime Minister Renzi and his government in April 2014, so it's been discussed for quite some time. And it's actually mostly going to revolve around, to your point, the transformation of the Senate, so the upper house, to a regional chamber, and the grouping of most legislative powers in the Camera dei Deputati. So that's part number one. Part number two is also going to centralize powers from the regions to the state back again. So if you think about the views that different commentators have delivered when supporting the yes, the idea is mostly around making the law approval, the legislative process leaner, quicker, hence making the country more governable ultimately. The supporters of the no point towards a variety of issues, probably the biggest one being the fact that a central power could become dangerous. So to your point, it's going to be interesting to see how markets react, and volatility can be expected. If I take a step back, to your point, at the moment markets are discounting a marginal no win. So if a yes materializes, you can expect a rally, a relief rally, that will happen in a variety of exposures. Think about Italian government bonds spreads compressing. They are now at the widest levels vis-a-vis the Spanish government bond spreads since September 2014. So a yes outcome would see them coming down, as it is certainly seen as a more stable view for the economy and the overall political situation. Other asset classes to watch, certainly European equities, European banks and Italian equities.
A no vote, though, of course, we've heard the Prime Minister say he would step down if it was a no vote, and that brings in a lot of concerns because the other parties aren't really in the position to run the country.
Yes, so that is another interesting question. There are different outcomes that you can envisage. Ultimately, and very similarly to what we discussed around Brexit, it will be about the margin of the outcome. The interesting part is that the Italian referendum doesn't have a quorum, which means that you don't need a minimum number of voters there. It's just the yes votes actually outnumbering the no's, or vice versa. So what you can expect in terms of no is certainly additional questions around the European banking sector and the Italian banking sector. One of the outcomes of the yes will be the view that Renzi will be able, having stronger political capital, to push through a variety of reforms that are now stuck in the Camera, that have passed the Camera but are stuck in the Senate, and certainly reform or consolidation of the banking system, including recapitalization of a couple of lenders that are in need of help.
I mean, key lenders that if they don't get that money, it could ignite a full-blown banking crisis.
It's going to cause an additional range of questions and pressures. I think the European banking sector, if we take a step back, is challenged anyway by the fact that a big cleanup since the global financial crisis hasn't really happened, as it did for the US banking sector. Is challenged by the fact that, unlike the Fed, the ECB is not necessarily on a normalization pattern, so having rates at the current levels compresses margins and poses challenges. So it's actually a broader discussion that should be had there, but certainly the market is watching the outcome of the referendum for the specific sector.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, it's happening on Sunday. We do have Sunday trading here at IG, so you can trade sort of throughout the evening and into the morning there. You mentioned the different areas to watch with the markets. For you, the key one, will it then be the banks, or will it be the indices, or which will be the key one, do you think?
It depends what your investors are looking for. So in terms of short-term trades, I would certainly look at Italian govies, as mentioned, European banks. The FTSE 100 as well is kind of a leverage play in that sense. It's heavily exposed to the banking sector. And let's not forget that it has underperformed Eurostoxx 50 by 3 times this year, so there's certainly a room for something to happen there. More broadly thought, from a strategic perspective, we remain underweight European equities, so irrespective of the outcome of the referendum, the overall area needs to be treated with attention. There are questions around growth coming through, the banking sector that we mentioned, and in general the political risks that will continue in 2017 with the French and German election. So certainly some short-term opportunities will materialize. Longer term is a different story.
Okay, on that note, we do leave it there, but thank you very much, Ursula Marchioni there from EMEA iShares BlackRock on how she sees the impact of either a yes or no vote at Sunday's Italian referendum.